Hey guys, and welcome to a showdown between myself, a rubber duck of war, up against the legendary Darv Plays and his typical Empire forces. Here's an Empire main, and we are a Dino Boy main, and that's just what you guys are going to get. Lizardmen versus the forces of the Empire, and we're going to be trying out some pretty fun new units and sneaky, cheeky tactics that I'm actually a big fan of throughout. But let's go for our build for the most part. We do have red-crested skinks guarding the flanks combined with skink cohorts. These little boys are pretty damn decent at taking down enemy Empire Knights if you can pin them in place. Main battle line is a ton of Saurus warriors dotted all the way along the line, and more red-crested skinks on this right-hand side. Now, you may notice there's something a little bit strange going on over on this side, and that's because we have a COATL up in the sky. I'm sure you've seen this on many other people's channels now, but it does come with the Master of the Sacred Places, meaning everything underneath it does indeed gain stalk. They will be hidden, but it does not give them snipes. They will be revealed, of course, once the enemy is within place and these guys are shooting. Underneath them, we have a load of skink skirmishers who are probably going to be the new meta, I think, for Lizardmen. Chameleon skinks have been a cost increase to them. Poison does slightly less, so skink skirmishers could quite often be picked over chameleon skinks now, I would think. And we have a feral Troglodon. Now, Troglodons are certainly best with the Oracle, and you want to bring them 9 times out of 10 like that, but a feral one combined here with the COATL can bring some quite fun, nice niche movements, being you get nice and close to the enemy before unleashing a horrible shot of venom straight at the enemy, which just deletes characters, large entities, anything that is a single entity model, it will destroy. It can 2-shot Marathi, I think, or 3-shot Marathi, the Skink Oracle version. Feral Troglodon, not quite as good, because I believe the Skink Oracle does fire 2 shots in one go instead of the basic one. For our leadership core, we have a Skink Priest or Beast, coming with Flock of Doom and Manticore Summon. Manticore Summon does now indeed cost an extra 20 wins, well, not extra 20 wins of magic, it does cost now overall 20 wins of magic, which is pretty damn disgusting. And then we have COATL as well, popping Master Predator. So this is going to increase his range, give him snipe and unspottable, and boy oh boy can he rack up the damage looking to try to focus down enemy casters and characters. He can certainly do some lovely work here. For my opponent, Darv is a big fan, I believe, of the Skirmish Cavalry contingent, and he has 3 Outriders who could cause quite big problems here for my flying big bird. Luckily for me, though, combining a few Skink Skirmishers underneath the COATL just to keep them nearby, that when the enemy skirmishers do come to try and attack, these guys can pounce back and fire at their enemy. There are going to be 2 Empire Knights over on this flank, and up in the skies we do have the Emperor of Mankind himself, Karl Franz, coming with Galmaraz and Runefang, dual wielding like an absolute badass. Apart from that, it's going to be just a tight formation on the hill of Spearmen and Halberds, as well as the Sigma Suns, guarding a Hellstorm rocket battery. We also have a Jade Wizard and a Warrior Priest in support. I believe that's going to be it for the forces of the Empire, so without further ado, let's get this battle underway. You can see his Outriders are trying to lay shots into the COATL here. We're going to be counter-firing back. Skinks have revealed themselves by shooting. Red-crested skinks are nearby as well. Troglodon can do some counter-skirmish, but he's honestly going to be killing like 1 model at a time from the Outriders, so it's not the most cost-effective by him. Hellstorm Rocket Battery is focusing down the Skink Skirmishers, and that's going to do some really nice damage to these bad boys. COATL will be moving up to try to start poking down Karl Franz. He does have scaling damage, however, so the later the battle goes and the more damage people take, he will start dishing out more damage as well, which is certainly very nice. Skink Skirmishers still currently hidden, going to be pushing up onto those Outriders. They're going to be falling back with the Big Bird as well as Troglodon, just trying to stay out of range of the Outriders and just push them back as we're going to be slowly making our way towards the enemy of formation. Saurus Warriors will comfortably be able to chew through the majority of this, and we have 3 of those to do the task. So Empire still kiting back at the moment. Karl Franz flying high above the skies. Outriders continue to fall back behind friendly troops there. Skink Skirmishers have revealed themselves. These guys do not have stalk, unfortunately, which obviously is something the Chameleon Skinks get in abundance, but the COATL here supporting them does now make them even better, I think. Outriders continue to pour fire in, though, doing some really nice damage on our Big Bird right here. We're going to come in with a fat Flock of Doom. Flock of Doom is insanely powerful now. Likewise, all air effect spells have been buffed because they catch every single unit, which has at least 1 model underneath the radius, which is definitely scary. Skink Skirmishers are unleashing shots into the Spearmen. You can see the red-crested skinks trying to sneak in between the enemy lines. The Sigma Suns, though, shall raise their shields and swords and go into combat against the red-crested skinkies. Up in the skies, you can see Karl Franz getting absolutely annihilated, and that is because the Troglodon, as well as Oxyotl, can burst down these type of characters in a matter of seconds. And a game up against Ice Power recently where Marathi, I believe, got two-shotted by a Troglodon, but that was the Oracle version. But the Feral one still does some pretty decent damage. You can see those shots coming up, just about missing Franz this time as he swoops away and gets a regrowth. But luckily, we have forced him to do an early regrowth here. Main battle line is starting to get underway. Good play by Darv as always. Empire Knights do crash into our red-crested Skinkies. Our red-crested are going to be applying pressure to them though, trying to get in there and drag them off their horses. Our riders are pouring on really lovely fire onto the COATL right now. That is allowing our Feral Troglodon just to hunt down Karl Franz where possible. We are getting a little over-eager with him. He doesn't have the best range, so you can find yourself being dragged out of position, and we're going to have to fall back as quickly as possible. Orion's Thunderbolt does come down, obliterating at least one of the Hellstorm. Yeah, one Hellstorm rocket battery artillery piece. That is the Orion's Thunderbolt that comes with the COATL. Also gets a lesser Chain Lightning, which, you know, it may be lesser, still does some relatively decent damage. Troglodon is going to be falling back at this moment. You can see the Chain Lightning is going to catch all of these Outriders who have been engaged in combat. I think Darv's Micro is trying to save his Jade Wizard, who's been sniped out now by a Feral Manticore. Skink Skirmisher is going to be quite happily kiting back against Karl Franz there. Chain Lightning does some relatively decent damage. You can see the Troglodon is starting to reposition. I want to try to focus fire down the Warrior Priest if possible. Oxyotl will be helping in that endeavour as well. Big shot comes in. It's going to be Mortar shooting up and over. And look how much burst damage it does to the Warrior Priest. And the Oracle fires two of those, so you can imagine the damage you can get. COATL is floating over here, was looking to support the Feral Manticore up against the Franzmeister, but realising that my Manticore is out of control, the COATL is going to have to fall back sadly, but again, we'll buy more and more time for the Skink Skirmishers to pepper down Karl Franz where possible, and drag him over to these lovely entities which are so good up against him. War Priest is done for at the moment. The Hellstorm rocket battery has been rather well defended by Darv. It's still online at the moment, but a load of Halberds and Spearmen have been broken from the field, and we're going to summon another Feral Manticore just to apply some pressure to Franz and get our big old bird out of the danger zone, who's now whipping his tail back and forth, destroying the Hellstorm rocket battery, terrifying it away from the battlefield. Feral Troglodon continuously trying to hunt down Franz at every opportunity. There's a load of state troops looking for their lives on the line. We are going to see, it looks like another regrowth go down. Feral Manticore is going to be hunting down the Jade Wizard, but it's most likely going to get caught by Franz here and deleted. But at the end of the day, hey, damage is damage, and if we can apply it to Franz, I'm a happy ducky indeed. Skink Skirmishers have been forced wide here by the Empire Knights, but it has allowed the Saurus Warriors to dominate the infantry fight. Halberds are getting dragged down, and balance power is now in our favour. Hellstorm rocket battery is being forced off, and you can see little Skink Priest is going to be chasing away Halberdiers and other such units. Our riders do pour shots into the Feral Troglodon, doing some relatively decent damage there, and the Feral Manticore is pinning down a whooping on Franz here. Kind of like unlucky RNG, I think, there by Franz, who just can't deal with the mighty beast. Now he does start to connect some shots in. Franz with Foe Seeker Pop, though, could run if so need be. Our riders do manage to make the Feral Troglodon go out of control, which is a big downside of the Feral version, of course, compared to the Sacred one, but a well-placed Cold Blood there should enable us to get out of this dangerous situation, particularly if Saurus Warrior is here for support. Oxyotl is having a whale of a time at the moment, and he has 50 ammunition, so he can fire all day long. Skink Skirmishers continue to pepper down Outriders where possible, and we have some rather healthy Saurus Warriors dragging down the Spearmen, but this certainly isn't game over yet. My Troglodon I thought was hidden, but he unfortunately wasn't, so we're going to have to pull back. I think he was a little bit too close to the enemy there, and the COATL as well is going to be moving back as the infantry corps of Saurus Warriors starts to push forward and start to apply that pressure to those Outriders, drive them back from our key targets. More shots do go up here at Karl Franz, hitting him with Oxyotl, which again is scaling damage, and now Franz is down just 1.7k health. Oxyotl will annihilate him with some well-placed shots here. Saurus Warriors looking okay at the moment. Again, just trying to drive back the Outriders. Not too much we can do here. Just going to finish off the Spearman, allow Darv to use up his ammunition, and focus down the COATL, who's still got 1.5k HP, so at the end of the day, can still pack a punch, and another Flock of Doom comes in, catching all three Outriders, which is so scary. Empire Knights do crash into the red-crested Skinkies, but once they get up on their feet, they can really pack a punch back, and the Empire Knights will be getting dragged down here in their droves, but the red-crested Skinks are starting to waver, unfortunately. Oxyotl is poking down the Knights as well, and I believe he does apply poison, which of course is delicious. Source Warriors dragging down the Knights, which is good to see. We have just so many of these guys left around healthy, driving away the remnants here of the foot force of the Empire. Though some good play here. Empire Knights going to be floating out to this side, trying to isolate some of our troops which are chasing away enemy routers with some decent cycle charge and not taking too much damage in return there. But the Skink Skirmishers will be giving them some parting shots, which is rather nice for me. COATL is forward all the way back to the top of the hill, just trying to get out of range from the Outriders where possible. Looks like the Knights have broken. Riders just going to be falling back. Luckily for me, though, they can't 360 shoot, and that's very good news for us indeed. TROGLODON is going to be falling back now. It looks like it has gained a chevron. I think we started with one. I'm going to be very interested to see its damage value at the end of the game. Sigma Suns have started to return to the fight. We can simply drive them away with Source Warriors at this point if need be. But the Outriders are going to be applying pressure. We kind of overextended here with these red-crested skinks, who are now getting annihilated by a mixture of Franz and Horse. That's not a good day to be a red-crested skink, unfortunately. The COATL, I think, is doing some weird attack animations. It does these glorious swooping animations, but it can really end up completely the other side of the battlefield from where you wanted it with some of these animations. Look at it go. It just kind of belly flops onto the enemy like a super happy ancient salamander. Skink Skirmishers continue to launch shots into the Outriders. They're going to be our main combat to them here. And we have more Skink Skirmishers trying to apply pressure to the Jade Wizard. I think all round, yes, Chameleon Skinks have been neutered a little bit. They're still pretty effective though, but have been hampered. I still think Lizardmen Skirmish is going to be very powerful, and they have a new tool for the skirmish in the form of the Troglodon, which is quite nice. Outriders not too happy to meet him, I'm afraid. Red-crested skinks are now engaged with the Outriders, which is a good job for me. Bounce Pay is moving more and more in my favour, and Karl Franz is going to decide to try to fight the COATL up in the skies, which I'm kind of happy to take. I'm trying to drag him a little bit out of position, just so the Troglodon gets a better trajectory to fire. But once he does engage, we have COATL here, we have the Troglodon, and they can really hammer into Karl Franz whilst he's engaged with the Big Birdie, who's tried his best at the moment to dodge the fight, but is going to be getting in there with a lick or two. And I mean, the Big Bird does have a beak, so I'm sure we can convert this into some kind of duck with a glorious mod. And Franz does get finished off there, dragged down by the beast of 1,000 ducks. COATL is still completely healthy here. Of course, that snipe really useful, and has 13 ammunition left, more enough to deal with the remainder of the enemy troops. I believe Feral Troglodon, an okay melee combatant, is able to terrify and force off the Empire Knights here, leaving just the Outriders, and yeah, they can still apply decent pressure with skirmish, but their morale is probably going to break, I'm afraid, because the rest of their force is just done for. COATL is now turning his sights onto that Jade Wizard, who is rather wisely trying to stay as far away as possible, but big burst damage coming in there by the skink with the blow dart. The Outriders do fall back here. One unit has broken. More skinks are starting to rally to the cries of COATL, and the Feral Troglodon does shatter the Empire Knights for good this time, and it shall be a glorious Pyrrhic victory for the forces of the Lizardmen. Super fun game. Well played to the mighty Darv. I believe he's going to be casting some free-for-alls we had. I might cast one or two as well. Super cool dude. Does have a YouTube channel as well under the name Darv Plays. Highly recommend going and checking him out, and he was nice enough to give me some games on the early access there. So yeah, awesome stuff. I think our units performed pretty well actually, and yeah, the COATL, I know a lot of people are considering it to be a huge gimmick and is going to kind of die out rather soon, but I think it actually does have some kind of cool utilities. Hiding the Skink Skirmishers, baiting out Outriders so you can counterfire is quite nice, and I mean, the bound abilities on this bad boy certainly aren't too terrible. We will get to the damage dealt, damage value of all the units in just a second, but before we get there, if you guys did enjoy the video, make sure to leave a big fat thumbs up on it, as well as to subscribe for more glorious Total War Warhammer content into the future. Going to be dropping 1 to 2 videos every single day up until release, and probably a stream on release day as well. There are links down below in the description. If you would like to buy this DLC, you can through my Games Planet account at a discounted price. There's links to my Patreon if you'd like to support the channel, and my Discord, where you can submit replays, get involved in events that I host, keep up to date just with how I'm doing and how everyone's doing in the community. And also there's a load of new and experienced players alike who can help train you up at the game if that is kind of your thing. Let me know down below in the comments what you thought of this battle as well, and how do you think the new boys performed. I'm a big fan of the new Lizardmen units. I don't think they're going to change how powerful Lizardmen are too much, but it does give them a lot more variety, which is certainly nice. So maybe we'll bump them up just a little bit. COATL, the man, the myth, the legend, the Skink Slayer, God of War, nearly 2,000 damage value with plenty of ammunition left to spare. He certainly is kind of like the ultimate skink chief. He's annoying to face. You can't find him. He's shooting your characters all day long. But if you can catch him, he is very squishy. He's a really nice support character all round. Up to 75 kills here. And just whittling down at those key targets. I think it's not every match necessary, but his ability, which can change him to be stalk and snipe, or unspottable and snipe, I should say. Yeah, you're going to want to bring that 9 times out of 10. I think it's just so much more powerful than his base form. Skink Priest did okay. I mean, Flock of Doom is very powerful, but we were kind of summoning Manticores. I'm not sure if Manticores are actually going to be the most optimal way anymore to bring Beast Casters. I think Flock of Doom and the Curse or something, maybe Amber Spear in certain matchups would be a little bit better. As for our skinks across the board, they did suffer, but the Saurus Warriors prospered. Not the best damage value, but certainly chewing their way through all the enemy infantry. Then allowed me to focus down the other key units of the Empire build. Little Skink Skirmishers did fantastic. 639 damage value, 284 not so good, 358 and 400. So not as amazing as I thought they were doing, but again, they're just pesky and annoying throughout the course of the battle. The COATL up in the skies still got 1,225 damage value, despite me using it in a more of a support role here. And I have seen them get pretty good damage value as well. Do I think they're going to be amazing? No. But do I think they're going to be terrible? Probably not either. The TROGLODON was a real MVP in this matchup for me. 2,585 damage value, combined with COATL, just sniped out France. And I kind of brought it actually as a counter to Volkmar the Grim, who I think these bad boys will be pretty damn good against. I'm interested to try out the Regiment Renown one. The Oracle, I'm not sure if it's going to be in-game on release, but currently the Beast fires and then the Oracle fires afterwards, doing the exact same damage as the Beast, meaning you're basically firing 2 shots for the price of 1. I'm not sure if that's deliberately meant to be in the game, or if it's something that's going to get changed, but at the moment, yeah, the Oracle is quite insane. But well played once again to Darv. Karl Franz unfortunately couldn't really get his hammer and Runefang wet with the blood of the Lizardmen. He was really forced to kind of the outskirts of the battlefield, jumping on Saurus Warriors and Skinks, because he simply couldn't come near COATL and the Troglodon. Still though, 869 damage value. Try dealing with the big bird at the end of days. War Priest just got sniped out. The Jade Wizard obviously coming with some lovely little regrowths, but double regrowth Franz and again 869 damage value. That's pretty rough for sure. Spearmen and Halberds did die before the might of the Saurus Warriors. Sigma Sun's faring a little bit better, nearly 800 damage value on them. Empire Knights did pretty solid work as well, and Darv is so good with his micromanagement of his skirmish cavalry, and the Outriders performed pretty good. 890, 850, and 691 damage value, applying so much pressure there to the big flying bird. Hellstorm Rocket Battery, 878 damage value, isn't terrible at the end of the day, but because they lost their leadership and key units, the Empire did crumble. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Until next time, peace, peace. And as always, stay awesome.